morning and welcome to the second lesson for writing this week. So yesterday you started planning and thinking about your leaflet to persuade a child thinking of changing school to come to Chesswood. And you should have made notes under 4 different headings. I think we had facilities, the Chesswood community, subjects and topics, and there's always going to be one I can't think of. Oh yeah, clubs and trips. So you should have made some notes, have lots of ideas ready to put into your leaflet. So before we start the second lesson today, we've got a little bit of nasty writing for you. And all of the nasty writing this week will really help you with your persuasive writing for your leaflet. So the question today is, what is a rhetorical question? Have a little think. A rhetorical question is a question that doesn't need an answer, or a question that has a really obvious answer. So there are 2 questions here. Which one of these is rhetorical, do you think? Why haven't you done your homework this week? Do you know what happened to me yesterday? Now, you might go, no, when you answer this question, but actually this green question doesn't need an answer, does it? I'm saying it just to get you interested in my story about what happened to me yesterday, but this one does need an answer. So, rhetorical question in green. So we often use rhetorical questions when we want to make something stronger, give something more emphasis, or we want to engage more with the reader during our writing, and that's obviously something we want to do when we're writing persuasively. We're persuading somebody to do something. So your nasty writing for today, I've given you some rhetorical question sentence starters here, in case you're finding it hard to get started, so you can use those if you want to. Write 2 to 3 rhetorical questions that you could use in your persuasive writing this week. And the challenge is you could even go on to answer that question. So if I give you an example, shall I use one of these? I did have a little think about it beforehand, I have to confess. I think I'm going to use this one. Because a lot of children, when they're changing schools or moving up to junior school, they do get a little bit anxious about it. So I'm going to start with, I could say, are you worried about? In fact, I am. This is very informal, isn't it? Worried about, I'm going to make it a bit more formal, but I could start, worried about, but I'm going to start, are you worried about, often what children worry about is the work being more difficult. So, are you worried about the work being harder? That makes sense, doesn't it? Are you worried about the work being harder at junior school? Are you worried about the work being harder? Now, what do I need if it's a rhetorical question? Question mark, don't forget. Are you worried about the work being harder at junior school? That's my rhetorical question. My challenge is to try and answer that question, so I could go on to say, don't be, because at Chesswood, and then I could go on to give the child some kind of reassurance. I'm not going to do that now because I don't want to take up too much time. So you could pause the video there, have a go at the nasty writing task for today, 2 or 3 rhetorical questions, and then restart the video for the main task for today. So today's Walt is to write a persuasive paragraph. So we're going to do a little bit of slow writing, just like we do in school. Now, it's a persuasive paragraph. It's not about persuading children to come to Chesswood. We're going to start our writing for the leaflet tomorrow. Really, this is just a practice at using persuasive language in our writing. And it's a different context. So we're going to be trying to persuade people to visit a place that we know well. But lots of the language that we're using in this slow writing today will come in useful when you start persuading children to come to Chesswood. You can use the same sentence structures and the same kinds of language, but just to talk about something different. So let's read the paragraph that I've got here on the board. Do you enjoy exploring new places? Visit the incredible city of London for a vibrant, fascinating, action-packed adventure. You won't be disappointed. You could soak up some culture at world-renowned museums, visit the Queen at Buckingham Palace, or take the perfect picture with Big Ben. Take a spin on the London Eye to experience spectacular views of the city's skyline and get a unique perspective on iconic London landmarks. Londoners love to eat. Tuck into delicious grub on the city's trendy street food scene, or treat yourself to something really special at one of London's many Michelin star restaurants. At the end of the day, relax and catch your breath in one of the city's lush green, historic royal parks. A perfect end to a perfect day. Wow, that's great writing, isn't it? I didn't write it, by the way. I think Mrs. Peace might have written it. Fantastic writing, Mrs. Peace. So, just like we do in class, we usually go on to have 5 minutes with a partner, usually, to look at all the sentences in the paragraph and decide what makes them good writing. What year 6 conventions has the writer used to make the writing work so well? So on the website, there is a separate sheet with these sentences on. So if you're able to print it out, it's a good idea to print it out and have it in front of you now while I'm talking. If you can't print it out, don't worry, because you can just have this, this screen. You can pause the video and have this up while you're doing your writing, because it's useful when you come to do your writing. If it says, I don't know, use a fronted adverbial in this sentence, or use a modal, sometimes you think, oh, I've forgotten what that is. And you can look back at these sentences and remind yourself. So it's a really good aid when you're doing your own writing. So obviously I'm not going to give you stand here for 5 minutes while you think about it. We're going to do it together now. So, do you enjoy exploring new places? What's the reader use there? Should know from your nasty writing. It's a rhetorical question. Quite a simple one, but it's a really good way of drawing the reader in. What have they used in the second sentence? Visit the incredible city of London for a vibrant, fascinating, action-packed adventure. You won't be disappointed. Well, I think we can see here they've got some amazing, strong, powerful adjectives, and they've got 3 in a row. And then what have they used at the end here? Have a little think. There's a dash there if you can't see it. Let's have a look. So we've got, an imperative verb at the beginning. So one of those bossy verbs that we talked about on Monday. Visit the incredible city of London. We've got a power of 3 here, which is 3 adjectives put together for extra impact. Now we are going to do some nasty writing on that. I can't remember if it's Wednesday or Thursday, sorry. But it's a really good feature of persuasive writing, putting 3 adjectives or 3 verbs or 3 ideas in a list. Just make sure that it sounds okay though. So it's always good to read it out and check it sounds all right. A vibrant, fascinating, action-packed adventure. Now I've obviously already checked that and decided it does sound okay, but sometimes you might need to change the order of those adjectives around, or you might have 2 really strong ones and one that's less strong, because otherwise 3 strong together sounds a bit too full on. I've got some parentheses at the end there as well, but I haven't mentioned that, so let's leave that. Okay, you could soak up some culture. What kind of word is could? Let's have a look. Oh, it's a modal verb. I'm sure you were all shouting that at the screen. A modal verb, could. And what I've given you there is a choice of things to do. So a list with a choice of things to do. You could go to a museum, visit the Queen, go to Big Ben. Take a spin on the London Eye. So what have we got here? What kind of verb is that? Let's have a look. We've got another imperative verb. And we've included some emotive vocabulary. Whoops, I forgot about not changing. Oh, come on. Play ball. That's better. I've got another nasty writing task on that this week as well. Emotive vocabulary, which is just language and words that make the reader feel something. So, spectacular views, unique perspective, iconic landmarks. So really it's just all that strong descriptive language that you're so good at using now in Year 6 to make the reader feel that they really want to visit London. Londoners love to eat. So we've got a short sentence there. It's really important when you're writing, isn't it, to not have all short sentences and not have all long sentences. It gets a bit wearing for the reader. So if you've had a few longer sentences, sometimes it's really great just to throw in a short sentence and grab the reader's attention again. Tuck into delicious grub. So we've got another imperative verb there, haven't we? On the city's trendy street food scene, or treat yourself to something really special. So we've got an imperative verb, and we're giving the reader a choice again, using or, using the coordinating conjunction or. There we go. At the end of the day, relax and catch your breath. So I think you all know what we've started this sentence with. At the end of the day, what's that? So we've got a fronted adverbial, and we've got some parenthesis again at the end, using a dash, like I used up here. What else could you use for parenthesis? That's it, brackets or commas. Fronted adverbials and parenthesis at the end of the sentence, and I've reminded you here what punctuation you can use. So, those are some really good ways of making our writing persuasive. Now, before you move on to do your persuasive paragraph, you need to know what you're writing about. So you're going to write a paragraph persuading someone to visit Brighton, or you could do Worthing if you prefer. You could do another city as well. If there's another city that you know really well, I don't know, Manchester, Liverpool, could be a city overseas even, Madrid, Paris, I don't know, anywhere, New York. You're just going to write a paragraph to persuade people to visit that city. So what I suggest you do is spend 5 minutes just collecting some useful ideas for your paragraph, because sometimes it's hard to just start writing a paragraph when you haven't had a chance to think about it. So I'm not going to do this with you now for 5 minutes, don't worry, but in your book you could just put the name of the city you're going to write about, like this, and just make a few notes. So for example, what's the city like? The sights and sounds and the smells and the feeling of the city. So I might just immediately start making a few notes. You can smell and see the sea and the beach. You've got the pier with the exciting rides and the noises of people screaming on the roller coasters, etc. You've got the smells of all the lovely food, like the fish and chips, and there's lots of different types of cuisine sold in restaurants in Brighton, isn't there? So I'm going to put here different cuisines and the smells. So this is just giving me some ideas of things that I'm going to write about in my paragraph. We've got the lanes with all the different shops. And you can think about, you know, they're busy and bustling, all the people, all the shoppers, all the tourists, all the pavilion, that's quite important. And it looks so magical at night when it's all lit up, doesn't it? Oh, and in the winter, sorry, I'm off the screen there. In the winter, you have the ice rink at the pavilion, normally. So do something like that first, just to give you some ideas. And then you are going to use the success criteria that's on the website. And remember, if you can't remember what any of these things are, go back to this to check. So, but this is on the website, and the list of sentences from my paragraph are on the website. So, I'm going to show you how I would write about Brighton. So first of all, I've got to use a rhetorical question. So, I'm going to start, let me have a look back at my rhetorical questions from my nasty writing, because that might help me. Oh yeah. So I'm going to start by asking the reader a question. Would you like, now I was thinking, Brighton, why is it so special? It combines the seaside and the beach with everything that you can do in a big city. It's got theatre, it's got restaurants, it's got live music, It's got museums and art galleries. So I was thinking about talking about that in my rhetorical question. Would you like to stay in a place, in a resort, in a town, in a city? What sounds better? I'm going to leave it as place for now and maybe change it later. Would you like to stay in a place? Oh, I know what I'm going to say. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also has, what can I say? Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also has, I'm using a relative clause there, aren't I? Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also has the culture and food? Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also has the culture and food? That doesn't sound right to me. So I'm going to change this verb to offers. Sounds a bit better. So don't forget, you're not necessarily going to write the perfect sentence straight away. You need to think about it and edit it as you go. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also offers the culture and food you find in a big city? Oops. Oh, what's happened to my pen? Sorry about that. You find in a big city. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also offers the culture and food you find in a big city? I think food scene sounds better there, otherwise it sounds a bit funny, like there's food just lying on the street. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also offers the culture and food scene you find in a big city? I'm not completely happy with that, but I'm going to leave it because I can always edit it when I finish my sentences. Okay, I don't need to write the numbers here, do I? Because I'm writing a paragraph, not sentences. So I'm going to tick off my rhetorical question. Number 2, start with an imperative verb and use the power of 3. So I think it's quite easy to start with an imperative verb because I'm going to answer my question. Visit Brighton. That's what you want. Visit Brighton. And now I need to write a sentence or a phrase using a power of 3. So I'm going to describe Brighton. I'm going to put a comma. So it's like parenthesis, really, at the end of the sentence. And I need 3 adjectives to describe the city of Brighton. Visit Brighton. The exciting, so I would say it is exciting. What else is it? Exciting. Diverse. I'm going to write diverse because I think all sorts of different people live there. There's so many different types of restaurants to go to, so many different kinds of food to try, so many different things to do. Whatever you're interested in, you can do it there, really. So visit Brighton, the exciting, diverse, and I'm going to also call it alternative because I think there are lots of things to do in Brighton that you can't do anywhere else. They're not mainstream forms of entertainment. They're things that are often quite unusual or quite different. Visit Brighton, the exciting, diverse and alternative city. And I'm going to add something on the end that's just come into my head, that never sleeps. So think. I know at the moment things are a bit different, but ordinarily I think you can find something to do all day and all night in Brighton. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also offers the culture and food scene you find in a big city? You can find in a big city, maybe? Visit Brighton, the exciting, diverse and alternative city that never sleeps. Now I've got to use a modal verb with a list, with a choice of things to do. So I'm going to go back and think about the one about London, which began with you, and I'm going to say what people might want to do if they visit Brighton. You might sample, that's a nice word instead of try, isn't it? You might sample the place that's popped into my head. There's a Vietnamese restaurant in Brighton. There's probably more than one, actually, which I know does great Vietnamese street food. You might sample Vietnamese street food. What else can you do in Brighton? Oh, go around the lanes and go in all the old jewellery shops. Explore explore the antique, that's better than old, isn't it? Explore the antique jewellery shops in the lanes. Don't forget my capital L there. Or they could go on one of the rides on the pier. I don't really like doing that. I hate roller coasters. Or take a ride on a seaside roller coaster, I'm going to put, because the roller coaster is right at the end of the pier, isn't it? I'm going to put an exclamation mark there. Okay, so I think I've got my modal verb and my list with a choice of things to do. Would you like to stay in a seaside resort that also offers the culture and food scene you can find in a big city? Visit Brighton, the exciting, diverse and alternative city that never sleeps. You might sample Vietnamese street food, explore the antique jewellery shops in the lanes, or take a ride on a seaside roller coaster. So that's how I've started my paragraph. I've got 7 sentences in total to write. I hope you enjoyed doing that today. Choose Brighton, choose Worthing, or choose another city that you know well. Use all the resources available to you on the website, and I will see you again tomorrow. I realise this is a very long video today, but it's quite hard to do slow writing quickly, hence the name, I suppose. So have a great day today, enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.